Hello there and welcome to a brand new lesson. This is Happy on Numbers where we learn maths the easy way. In this lesson, we are looking at the frequency distribution table. By the end of this lesson, you should be able to complete the frequency distribution table, calculate the class mark, deviation, and cumulative frequency. You should be able to estimate the mean using the assume mean method. You should be able to identify the modal class from the frequency table. And finally, you should be able to state the advantages of the arithmetic mean. Here are some key vocabularies you can pause and quickly go through as we'll be needing them in the lesson. So without much ado, let's quickly go right to our question. So this is our question. It says, the following table gives the performance of 50 students on an assessment test. So you have the scores and then the frequencies right here. And you have X, D, FD, and then CF. So what does it ask us to do? It says we have to complete the table for the scores. Secondly, we have to use the frequency table to estimate the assumed mean. And then we should also estimate the modal score. And then finally, we should state 3 advantages of the arithmetic mean. So how do we go about this question? The frequency has been given to us, and if by chance you don't know what frequency is, simply the number of students in each class. So for what we have here, we have the scores ranging from 46 to 50. And they are telling us that 3 students obtained the scores from 46 to 50 inclusive. There are 4 students that obtained 41 to 45, and then 6 obtained 36 to 40 in that order. This X here is what we call the midpoint or the class mark. That is to say, we don't want to represent this with a range, but we want just one value that would use it to categorize this range. And how do we get it? We use what we call the midpoint of the class. So as you can see the formula here, it says the lower plus the upper divided by 2. What is the lower and then what is the upper? If you look at the table we have here, there are the first set of values that you can see right here. And then we have the second set of values that you can see right here for each of the scores. So these ones we have here, we call them the lower boundaries of the class. Okay, so or of the score. So for this particular section, 1 becomes the lower boundary. For this particular one, 6 becomes the lower boundary. You have 11. That is to say, all those we have here are the lower boundaries. Then those we have in the blue rectangle are the upper boundaries. So to get X over here, which represents the midpoint or the class mark of all these scores, all you simply do is to find the sum of the boundaries and then divide it by 2. In other words, find the average of the boundaries. So how do we do that? I'll do just a couple of them, and then you'd observe the pattern. With the pattern, we can just complete the rest. So for the very first one, we have the number 46, then plus 51. Remember the formula. So let me write the formula down. So the formula says the class mark, which is X, is lower plus upper divided by 2. Easy. So for the very first one, we have our X being equal to, the lower is 46. So 46 plus the upper, which is 50. Then you divide that by 2. And 46 plus 50 simply gives us a 96. 96 divided by 2, we have a 48. So the class mark here is what? 48. So let me write that down. 48. Then we come to the second one. So it's the same procedure, right? So for the second one now, our X is going to be the lower plus the upper. This time around is a 41 plus a 45. And then we divide that by 2. 41 plus 45 simply gives us an 86. So 86 divided by 2 is going to give us a 43. So we write our 43 right here. You see? So that is just how it goes. So let me do these two and then we can move to the next. So for the next one, we have a 36 plus a 40. That gives us a 30, a 76. Not forgetting the divided by 2. So divided by 2, which then gives us what? A 76 divided by 2. And 76 divided by 2 gives us a 38. So for the next one, we have a 38. Now observe carefully. You would see a pattern that is going to help you not to repeat everything again. So for the next one, we have a 31 plus 35 divided by 2. And 31 plus 35 simply gives us a 66 divided by 2. And that gives us a 33. So we have a 33. Do you see the pattern? So 48, 43, 38, 33. You can proceed, or looking at the pattern, you can simply guess the remaining answers and you'd be right. So this one here is going to be a 28. Then the next one is going to be a 23. This here is going to be an 18. And then the next one is going to be a 13. This is going to be an 8. Then the next is also going to be a 3. You can confirm by simply adding, that is using the formula, and then dividing by 2. So that is all for the x values. So now that we are done with all of this, the next thing to do is the deviation. And as we said, if we want the deviation, then it is the x values minus the assumed mean all over the class width. You see, so we know the x values now, we've gotten them. Now we need the assumed mean. So how do we get the assumed mean? We choose the assumed mean usually from the modal class. You see, so modal class is simply the class with the highest frequency. And if you look at what we have here, this is the class with the highest frequency of what? Dwarf. And what is this class mark? It is 28. You see, hence we are going to say our assumed mean is 28. You see, so let me just write that here. Assume mean 28. Then we come and then take each x value minus 28 and then divide it by the what? Class width. And what is the class width? It is simply the upper minus the lower. So it is 50 minus 46, which is 4. It's the same as what you have over here. 54 minus 41. All this will give you 4. You see? Hence, let's start the deviations. So for the first one, it says x minus a. So 48 minus 28. That gives us a 20. You see? Then we divide the 20 by 4, which is the class width. You see? So if you are to work it out here, we have the d of the first one is going to be what? Or simply put, d, which is deviation, is simply x minus a all over I. We are saying our a is what? 28, and then our I is 5. So for the first one, d1 is going to be what? 48 minus 28 all over our 5. This gives us a 20 over 5, and 20 over 5 gives us a 4. So that is where we put a 4 here. Then we do the same for this. So this time around it becomes a 43 minus a 28 all over 5. And that is going to give us a 15. So 15 over 5 will give us a 3. So for the second one, we have a 3. Then we do for this. So we have 38 minus 28 all over 5. 38 minus 28 gives us a 10. So we have 10 over 5, which is also equal to a 2. So you put the 2 here. So this is how you work for all of them. Take note of this formula. X, which is the X value we have here, minus you assume mean, then you divide it by the class width. You see, so I'm going to complete the rest, and you would have to take your time and fill them out. So 33 minus 28, that gives us a 5. 5 over 5 gives us a 1. 28 minus 28, that gives us a 0. A 0 over 5 gives us a 0. 23 minus 28 gives us a negative 5. Negative 5 over 5 gives us a negative 1. Then 18 minus 28 gives us a negative 10. Negative 10 divided by 5 gives us a negative 2. So 13 minus 28 gives us a negative 15. A negative 15 minus divided by 5 also gives us a negative 3. Then 8 minus 28 gives us a negative 20. Negative 20 divided by 5 gives us a negative 4. And then finally, 3 minus 28 will give us a 25. 25 divided by negative 25, sorry. Negative 25 divided by 5 will then give us a negative 5. So with our deviation, we say we multiply the deviation by the frequencies. That is the FD we have here. So 3 times 4 gives us a 12. 4 times 3 also gives us a 12. Then 6 times 2, we get a 12. 10 times 1 gives us a 10. 12 times 0 gives us a 0. 7 times negative 1, we have a negative 7. 3 times negative 2 gives us a negative 6. 2 times negative 3 gives us a negative 6. 2 times negative 4 gives us a negative 8. Then 1 times negative 5 gives us a negative 5. And the last one we have here, which is CF. CF is simply what we call the cumulative frequency. So what is the cumulative frequency? The cumulative frequency is simply running totals of frequencies from the top to the bottom. So all these frequencies here, we'll add them and then we keep writing them here. And it's very, very simple. For the very first one, we write this frequency we have here, which is 3. And then it now comes down. So 3 plus 4. You see, it goes in this direction. So 3 plus 4 gives us a 7. They will now add this 7 to the 6 we have here. You see, so 7 plus 6 gives us a 13. They will add a 13 to the 10 we have here as well. So 10 plus 13 gives us a 23. And we have 23 plus 12, which then gives us a 35. Then we have 35 plus 7, which gives us a 42. We have 42 plus 3, which gives us a 45. We have 45 plus 2, which would also give us a 47. 47 plus 2 gives us a 49. And then finally, 49 plus 1 gives us a 50. You need to always take note. By the end of your addition, the final one here should be equal to the sigma F, you see, which is 50 over here. Anytime you add all of this and you don't get what you have here, it simply means there is something wrong somewhere. So we have been able to complete the frequency table for the scores. And it says we have to use the frequency table to estimate the assumed mean. That is what we did. We needed the assumed mean to even get our deviation. So our assumed mean is what? 28. And that is it. Then the next one says the modal score. So modal score is simply the score with the highest frequency. This time around, we are not using the interval, but we are using this particular one, the x. So our modal score is the 28 because it has the highest frequency. Now for our last question, it says you have to state 3 disadvantages of the arithmetic mean. The arithmetic mean has some disadvantages that are worth noting. The first one being that it is very, very sensitive to outliers. This simply means if you add very, very low score or very, very high score, it changes the mean. You see, so let's say for this data we are saying our assumed mean is around 28. And you realize that the scores range from what? 1 to 50. But if someone was able to score around 90, it will change the mean, the actual arithmetic mean, it will change it. You see, so that is a disadvantage of the arithmetic mean. The next disadvantage is it cannot be computed for open-ended intervals. So for what we have here, they are closed-ended. But assuming this was open-ended, it doesn't end. We just list the scores without boundaries. You cannot use the arithmetic mean. So arithmetic mean are only computed for closed or bounded intervals. Then the last disadvantage is it cannot be determined graphically. You cannot determine arithmetic mean by graph, unlike the median, especially of the normal, and then the mode that you can easily determine graphically. You cannot do so with the arithmetic mean. So that ends it for this particular question. But I would want you to take note that for this table we have here, you realize that our cumulative frequency started from what? 3 for the highest, what do we call it, scores. There are 2 types of cumulative frequency we could have come up with. So the first one is what we call from bottom up. Bottom up. And that is what we have actually done. You see, so with the highest one having our 3 all the way to the lowest one giving us our 50. But we could have also turned it upside down. So with that, what would have happened is instead of this being 50, we would have put a 1 here. Then after 1 we add 2. So 1 plus 2 gives us a 3. 3 plus 2 we have a 5. Then 5 plus 3 we have an 8. 8 plus 7 we have a 15. 15 plus 12 we have a 27. 27 plus 10 we have a 37. 37 plus 6 gives us a 43. 43 plus 4 gives us a 47. Then a 47 plus 3 gives us a 50. So either you use the bottom up or the top down, you would get the same answer as your sigma f. And it is also worth noting that anytime you have a frequency table, even if it is not asked, you would need to compute your sigma f. So we normally state that right here. So you compute your sigma f and also compute your sigma fd, because if the question was to ask for the actual mean, would have needed all of this. So that ends it for this lesson. I do hope it was helpful. If there's any issue of concern, you can always let me know at the comment section and I'll address that for you. All the best in your studies. And if this is your first time on this channel and think it will be helpful to either you or your students, you can spread the word and also subscribe as well. Bye for now and do stay safe.